Good afternoon. It is Monday, November the 2nd, and this is period 5, AP Statistics. Today, we're just gonna address any questions that you have on any of your formatives. And when we get through any questions, I have some free response practice for you to do as classwork, which you probably have already seen, but we'll go ahead and start with what questions do you have on any of your 3 sapling assignments?
This isn't specific to a question, but there were a couple on the sapling. I know we talked about this a little last time, but I think because the end of class, we kind of got cut off. The 4 major parts of the experiment, like replication, control, all that, and then match to what each one does or like how they word it. Because I know that we kind of talk about them as just doing a bunch of different things, but I know they have like one phrase that relates to each of them. And I think that kind of comes up a lot in the multiple choice. So if we could go over that, that'd be awesome.
Okay, that definitely was part of our notes, and I think we had it. I'll see if I can find where it was, but
Yeah, because I know we did like we listed them in the important final notes, but then we didn't really say like we said what they did like literally, but not how they impact the experiment.
okay. Well, when the first one we have written down is comparison on page 19 of the notes. And comparison is literally that allows us to detect changes in our explanatory variable. So, or differences, I should say, in our explanatory variable. So the comparison is kind of like the result or the punchline at the end of the experiment. When it comes to random assignment, the random assignment, as we saw at the end of the chapter, that gives us the opportunity to generalize. And when we randomly assign, that implies the controlled experiment, that allows us to make a statement about cause and effect. Control, this is where we want to attribute any changes or any differences that we see between the groups to the explanatory variable rather than any other lurking variables that may be confounding the results. So this is where we're on the lookout for. We may decide, you know what, we need a match pair design instead of a completely randomized design, because we want to hold all other variables equal if possible, so that or control for other variables is another way that we look at it, so that when we actually run the experiment, we can again attribute any changes that we see to the response variable. And then replication, this is where if we don't have enough experimental units involved, individual differences might play a role in the differences that we see in the response variable, sorry. And that's not what we want. We want it to literally be kind of everything else is the 2 groups are held accountable, or the multiple groups are held accountable. They're held roughly equal. So if we have some athletic people in one, we have some athletic people in the other, and so on. So whatever has an impact on the specific response that we're looking for, we want the multiple groups, however many groups we have, to represent the population and to mimic each other. That's gonna mean that we need enough of the experimental units in each of the groups so that those individual differences don't matter. Does that help?
Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Zach?
So in class, we covered that match pair design was when like you are matched with someone alike and then placed in random groups. On the sapling, there was a question with match pair design where you were matched with yourself.
100%. Yeah.
Do you know which one I'm referring to?
No, I don't know the specific question that you're referring to.
Do you want me to find the problem number? Because the answer was match pair design, and it was matching them with like themselves doing a different.
Well,
let me find the question number.
Actually, something that's very common. So if you find the question, I'll go ahead and open up sapling and see if we can address a specific question. But just in general, you are your own best control group. because you are the same as you, right? And what that means is that, for instance, whatever your performance is going to be, it's going to be roughly the same regardless of what day we find you on or what week we find you on or whatever. So if we're trying to run an experiment and we compare your response to your response, that's going to usually give us the best information about whether the explanatory variable had an impact or not.
Got it. 4.2, number 33.
Okay, 4.2. You said number 33?
Yes.
Okay. Let me see now.
And then the correct answer thing said, this is a match pair design because each subject was assigned both treatments.
I'm still getting used to the format of looking at it. Okay, so does talking on a hands-free cell phone, that one?
Yes.
Okay, does talking on a hands-free cell phone distract drivers? Researchers recruit 40 student subjects for an experiment to investigate this question. They have a driving simulator equipped with a hands-free phone for use in the study. Each subject will complete 2 sessions in the simulator, one while talking on the hands-free phone and the other while just driving. The order of the 2 sessions for each subject will be determined at random. The route, driving conditions, and traffic flow will be the same in both sessions. What is the best description of the design of this study? And it is match pairs design because you are doing in a random order both treatments. So both treatments are being imposed on the same experimental unit.
You're randomizing the treatments. You're not randomizing the subjects, which would make it match pair, right?
You're randomizing the order of the treatments.
Right. That's what I meant.
Yeah, but everybody's getting both
So
treatments.
you could be matched with yourself. It's not exclusive to more than one person. Okay.
Absolutely. And that really is, that's, if you remember, we talked about the boot question. That is an old AP question where it's the left and the right boot. That's usually, except for being paired against yourself, that's the closest that you can get, is kind of that left side boot and right side boot. But being paired against yourself is the ultimate. And so this would be, you get to do the same treatment on different days, or you do the same treatment. And typically this has to be something for which a learning curve would not have an impact on the responses. So there's another old AP question that they were using different types of pole vaults and poles for pole vaulting. And so one of them, if I remember right, it was 2 different materials that they were made out of. And so there was a learning curve associated with it. So if somebody did 20 times with one type and then switched to the other type, then they might have just gotten practice and gotten better. So even though they were being matched against themselves, that learning curve came into play. So that's why each one had to be randomized. So the order in which people used the different material poles for pole vaulting, that was randomized, but the same individual used both types of poles. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you. I just wasn't sure about that clarification.
Absolutely. Ryan?
So I'm still having trouble logging onto the textbook.
Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to deal with that right now though. And 2, so when we're designing when we're designing not an experiment, but if we're doing an observational study, for instance, how do we is there always a right answer for the type of sorry, if you're doing a survey, is there always a right answer for the type of sample you should take? Or can it really is there always a way to back up each separate one?
I don't know if I would go so far as to say any one would apply anytime, but I do think certain ones are more appropriate. So for instance, if you're trying to get people in student government, stratified makes the most sense so that you have different sectors of your population represented, whether it's grade level or gender or whatever. I also think there are times when cluster is most appropriate. There are times when systematic is most appropriate. So it kind of depends on the situation. But in general, it doesn't make one wrong. It just maybe makes one more efficient than the other. I don't think you can back up any and you'll get that same level of results, ease, cost, all the different parameters that you're trying to include. But I do think that there is room for kind of maybe not only one right answer for every question.
Okay, and also, so for what's it called? For the randomized like number generator, like a table of random digits, can you explain like briefly like how to do that again?
Yeah, we can do that. And before we do that, did you also have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you could like explain the
Okay, so the idea behind randomized block design is when you have a specific characteristic that it makes sense to split your subjects up by. So for instance, if we wanted to get information about opinions on the parking lot, or well, I shouldn't say that because that would be a survey and we're talking about experiments. So let's see.
If it makes you feel helps at all, it's 4.2 numbers.
Okay, let's see. I'm in 4.2, I think. So number 10.
Knocking out fruit.
Okay, can snacking on fruit rather than candy reduce later food consumption? Researchers randomly assigned. Okay, you're this is saying that this is a randomized block design.
I thought that just sounded like to me like a randomized.
Yeah.
Like I don't see what is different between this and like a different experiment. You just randomly select.
Yeah, no, I just, oh, which one is not true?
Oh,
Which one is not true? That makes sense now, right?
yes. How would this become a block design?
If we took those women and we split them up to start with, let's put all the diabetics in one group and the non-diabetics in a
So
different
that's when
group.
you take confounding variables and make two groups based on them.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, although it's not a confounding variable if you block on it because
Yeah, but
you're
it-
preventing that.
If it was a normal experiment.
It could, right, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so that was a reading issue, right, with the not. Okay, okay, no worries, no worries. Okay, so let me. Okay, I'm just opening up where I have a table of random digits available. Okay, so this is the one that we talked about on Friday. I believe it was Friday. So Ryan, you're gonna, since this is your question, I want you to give us some of the parameters of what we're doing. First of all, how many individuals do we have in our population from which we are drawing?
I can't see. Half of it's cut off. I don't know.
Never
Oh, it
That's
says using.
That's not the
It's
point.
like-
Just pick. Pick a number.
Oh, pick a number.
Yeah, how many individuals do we need to represent?
30.
Okay, so we have 30, we'll just call them students for right now. And from those 30, how many do we want to select?
10.
Okay. Okay, so because we have 30 individuals, we need to always start out by numbering them. And because we are representing 30 individuals, we need to use 2 digits. So we're going to go from 01 to 30. Okay, 2 digits, 2 digits. Okay, so we're going to number them from 1 to 30. And then we're going to write down the rules of what we're doing. We're going to select 2 digits at a time.
Why
Because
does it have to be 2 digits? Why does it have to be 0 1? Why can't it be 1?
because it will, if we pick only 1 digit at a time on the table, then I'm only going to get a 0 or a 7 or a 5. And
Okay.
I'll never get up to,
So then that's just limiting yourself to the first time.
okay. So we're going to select 2 digits at a time. Then we are going to skip numbers that are out of range. Meaning
Right.
0, 0, and 31 to 99, because none of those have any meaning in our list of 30 students. Then we're going to choose 10 unique. You can also use the word distinct 2-digit numbers. And select the students that correspond.
Right. So when you're doing it, can you just, I forgot, so I know you skipped the, skip the out of range numbers, obviously,
Okay, so
but do you,
our first one is 07. So that one's good. Our next one is 51. That one is out of range. Then we have 18. That one is good. So now I have 2 students selected out of the 30. Then we have 89, which is out of range. Then we have, now let's just pretend that this 15 is an 18, okay? To make it a repeat. Because I can't choose student number 18 again, I'm going to skip that repeat. Okay? Then, so that was that one. Then I have 41 out of range, 26, good number. Then I have 71. That one is out of range. 68, 53, 84, 56, 98. So that one is out of range. 14, another good number. 86 out of range, 69 out of range, 48 out of range, 76 out of range, 05, another good number. 13, another good number. 9, 29, 70, whoops, 4, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We only need one more and we get our last one, 12. Now, let's pretend we needed to pick more than that. We would just go on to the next line. Oh, I skipped all of those. Anyway, let's pretend that these didn't exist. We would skip to the next line and we would continue. Okay? Does that make
So, when we're picking the 2 random numbers, are we always going to be like given a chart like this to pick from, or will we be making our own?
You will never make
like-
your own. Never.
Okay, cool.
You'll be given a certain number of lines, and usually what ends up happening is the lines are numbered. So you'll be told to start, randomly on line, let's say this one is line 120. This is line 121. They'll tell you starting on line 121. And then when you're done with line 121, you'll carry on line 122 if you need to. Okay. Now,
Gotcha.
there are some things that if you need to pick a certain number and you run out, you've done something wrong because you're not going to run out. Okay. The other thing that you need to remember is figure out how many digits you need right up front. Because if you need to represent, let's say we actually had 100 unique numbers would be 00 to 99 instead of 001 to 100. Because using 3 digits means I have a lot of numbers that I don't use, a lot more that I don't use than that I do use. So that's going to be an inefficient way of doing it. Okay, so if I can use 2 digits, I want to use 2 digits. Don't start with 0 if you don't have to, but if it cuts you back on 1 digit that you can use, do it. What other questions do we have about the random digit table? Okay. Then no more questions about the random digit
Yeah, I know
table.
how to do it, just don't know like what context that you have that.
It would be along the lines of you have a group and you need to randomize.
So which 10 kids would you do? If it's random?
Yeah, or which 10 hotels would you pick? Or which 10 vehicles would you
So
pick?
you're always gonna have to skip the repeat.
No, you don't always have to. And that's something that, when you read the question carefully, you will know if you're representing individuals or you're representing a condition. Okay. So let's say that you're using the random digit table to run a simulation where 25% of the time a phone call is going to result in a hotel reservation.
Okay, so that'd be yes, yes, yes.
Exactly. So you can have repeat yeses.
Yeah, but like you can't have repeat hotels and repeat offices.
If it's an individual, you can't have a repeat. Okay, so same thing again, that you would have to first assign, okay? Because you need to have a key about what you're looking for. So in a case like that one, you have like 01 to 25 represents a yes reservation, and 26 to 99 along with 0 represents a no, they don't make a reservation. Okay, and then you're picking up 2 digits at a time again. So this is a yes, this is a no, this is a yes, this is a no, and so on. Okay, so in a case like that one, if you have, let's say, an 18 and an 18 again, you don't have to eliminate the double because it's not representing an individual, it's just representing you made a reservation. Okay. Okay. Any other questions about the random digit table? Okie dokie. What other questions do we have about sapling?
Just a general question. There was a lot of vocab that were not in the notes. Should we be expected to know that for tomorrow?
Give me an example.
I think one of them was like, hold on, like it's obvious, but like perspective, like observation, I think it was,
Oh,
or perspective.
so
pers-
retrospective, yeah, that
no,
is,
they're obvious. I'm just curious, like, if it's necessary for the test.
it's something that you may see because those words are not specific statistics words. That's not specific statistics vocabulary, it's common use vocabulary. Then yes, you need to know what prospective versus retrospective means. But it's not a term that we've introduced as part of our notes.
Got it.
Okay, what other questions do we have? Now, as I look through, let's see, not the 4.3, because that one I opened up over the weekend. So yeah, that's fine. And that one locks tonight. The other two, the 4.1 and 4.2, I had a request by a student in period 1 to reopen those. So I did reopen those, but they close at 8 o'clock tonight. So I just wanted to let you know. Let's see, Vincent for 4.1, it looks like you're halfway through. And Jacob did not start. Ryan did not start. And then none of our students who are participating asynchronously from China worked on the 4.1. In 4.2, let's see.
I figured out again how to get back in. There was like one of the letters in my username was wrong.
Oh, okay. So are you able to get back in or not?
Yeah, now I'm like I haven't been for a week, but now I got in.
Okay. All right. So it looks like for 4.2, Vincent, Jacob, Ryan, and Ty, Olivia, and Henry all need to work on this one. So some of our classmates that are participating asynchronously. For the 4.3, that one's going to be open until 11:59. That one has some data ethics in it, which is actually not something that you're tested on the AP exam, but it is obviously something that we should all be aware of and cognizant of. And so for those of you who haven't done the 4.3, I would recommend doing it between now and midnight tonight. And I recommend everybody else, if you haven't done the 4.1 and 4.2, I recommend you do those. Okay, any other questions?
So I did test directions in the last test and I didn't have a very good model.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So does anybody, if nobody has any other questions, then the other thing that I wanted to show you, I did want to talk to you about tomorrow. You are going to have your test. Because we want to accommodate students who have the accommodation of extra time. I can't believe I'm already on 38%. Okay. Hang on. What I wanted to I want to let everyone know today to look on the week at a glance. I'm going to put it in the chat and then I'm going to show you. Let's see, chat. Oops. And I know I've shown you this before, but I just wanted you to have a quick look. There we go. Okay, so for tomorrow, you've got your test first. And then once you're done, I've got an article that is a really good, it's an old article, but it's actually timely because it was from after the last election and it talks about polling and probabilities and how we should interpret polls and how we shouldn't interpret polls.
Pretty relevant.
Yeah, totally relevant. And so that one is a good one. And then there's a short video that I want you to watch as an introduction to our next unit, which will be probability, which we're not going to talk about until Monday on the, what does that make it? The 9th, I believe. And then after testing is finished, if there is anyone who needs to work with me on test corrections, we can do it in a breakout room. And I'm happy to work on that. So there are two of the chapter 3 tests that I'm still in the process. I'm in the M's because I started at the end of the alphabet, then I turned around and went to the beginning of the alphabet. So the M's got left for best for last, right? So I think I'm on Mizrahi now and I need to do Morris and then I'm done. And so you'll see some of those grades are lower than what you've been seeing. I don't think you should be alarmed at all by that, but just start to notice how we get a little pickier as time goes by and to be aware of that for the future, okay? Okay. So I did want you to see what I had planned for you for tomorrow after the test, and then I'm not giving you any homework over the weekend, just as long as you get those 2 things done. Okie dokie. If nobody has anything else for me, then what I would like to do is get you started on your free response. If you go into modules, you should see there's an F for in-class practice for free response. And when you open that up, the first 4 pages are the questions. The last 4 pages have the answers. I don't want you to look at the answers until you've had time to work on the questions and try to work all the way through all of them, okay? So I recommend that you download that into Notability or save a copy to your Google Drive, and then you can type on it if you choose to, or if you have access to a printer and you want to print, you're welcome to do that as well. I would like for you to collaborate on it, but I know not everyone likes to collaborate. I've been told now by too many students that we go into breakout rooms and it's never Neverland and everybody just does their own thing. That's fine, but I would rather that you collaborate. So if you can put in the chat to me, if you're willing to collaborate with someone, just put it in the chat to me and then I'll put you in a group together with someone else who is willing to collaborate. Otherwise, I'll just put you in randomly and then you can be silent and with cameras off if you choose to. You guys can be a group if you're good with that.
Miss Skokin.
In a sec, yeah.
For the, I don't remember if it was just for the previous test or for all your future tests. It's open note, right?
Yeah, so here's my dilemma of life. At the end of the year, when you take your AP exam, we have no idea if it's going to be from home and open notes or in person at school and closed notes. So I'm wary and concerned and a little nervous about making everything open notes all year. But at this point, yes, it's going to be open notes. The one thing that I'm going to caution you is do not collude. You know what that means? Don't work together. Don't work together. Work independently. I love
I have
and there's a time for it. Before the end of the year, we definitely will have testing that will be collaborative testing, but it won't.
And then a part of my notes could be a cheat sheet I make, for example, right?
Yes.
Okay, just verifying.
I have one question on the sapling. There was like it wasn't very prominent, but there were like 2 or 3 questions that were like, is this worded correctly? It was like they gave you a question, it was a drop down menu. It was like, was it worded correctly, and like did it express the point of view?
Yeah, use like slanted, unslanted.
Yeah, is that going to be on the test? Because there were some that weren't like exactly the same. It was like, was this worded in a way that makes sense? But like,
Was it associated with wording bias or was it something different?
it wasn't wording bias. It was like literally asking you if it was worded correctly. It was
Okay.
like,
It was
correctly, and does it show bias?
bias than we had gone. It was like under the category of wording bias, but then they had different language for each part.
Okay, so for the most part with wording bias, what you would need to be able to do is give, whether it's if they use that wording, what's going to be the result? Is it going to be an overestimate of whatever they're trying to find out, or is it going to be an underestimate of whatever they're trying to find out? Is it going to overstate or understate, basically? So that's pretty much, and you need to recognize wording bias. And it always starts out, usually it's like something that it gives you a statement first. You know, guns have killed 4 million people yesterday. Do you think that we should have, you know, that kind of thing? And so it's throwing you into bias based on the wording to start out with, because it's giving you a statement as part of the question. That's typically what we see with wording bias. Now, when it comes to that other type of wording that you're talking about, I think that they were getting at that idea of, is it biased in terms of, is it going to be an overstatement or an understatement of the result of the whatever it is they're trying to measure. But I'm not 100% certain. If you want to tell me what the specific question is, I'll take a look and then I'll let you know. Okay, so I have just the open question. Once again, if anybody wants to collaborate, put it in the chat for me, please.
Sorry, you said it's on modules. Is it in chapter 4 resources?
No, it's in modules it should be towards the end, near the test.
Oh, practice test FR.
Yes, that.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Okay, anybody else want to collaborate? Okay. All right. So I had one mind change. Are you positive, or do you want to go back the other way again?
We're just doing the practice test, right?
Okay. Yeah, we're working on those free responses, but to do a thorough job means you're going to work without looking at the answers, do the best you can, go through all of them, individual parts, and then when you're done, check the answers. Okay?
I'll collaborate.
Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, you two, if you haven't already, you can get off of the Zoom now. Okay, so let me see. Okie dokie. Let me know if you have a question, but rely on each other first. Try to get through it and don't look at the answers, okay? The idea behind this is you are getting practice and trying to figure out where you need more study, more work.